Hey guys, I want to take the time to actually share the third video of the prerequisites for the mentorship. This was just a question that has been asked quite often as well, which is basically the terminology of what is back testing, what is forward testing, and why is it important. So I want to go over it. I mean, again, every trader has their own perspective on this. I know traders who don't back test at all, who just forward test, or people who just take stabs at it and maybe they have an eidetic memory and they just know what they're looking for. Either way, completely up to them. I definitely am a strong believer of back testing and forward testing strategies. I think that is important. This is no different than what I talk about in the world of business, is that if you want to trial out theories and business cases and theses, you have to go out there and apply it to real world to see what the market tells us. And so with that, the first topic of question is back testing. What is that? So you have the definition up here. I'm not going to read it off the slide here, but essentially you are taking a look at prior information and prior data from prior trading sessions to see how charts had moved. And so generally speaking, we would want to say that if you were a trader, you have some sort of system or indicator of some form that you want to rely on trading. If you want to test it and see how probable it is, you would use the form of back testing to do that. The other terminology we talked about was forward testing, which basically what it means is that now that you have the system and you have back tested it, it's now the time to put it into motion and to see what the market tells you of its probability rate. And so that's essentially what that is. And generally, people who do forward testing will test it using a paper account just to see what that looks like. But again, I think once you figure out all the technical aspect of things, it's really important to forward test with either real capital or prop firm capital because you do want to try to mimic the emotions that comes with risk to reward to the best of the ability, right? And so with that said, I also want to show you when it comes to back testing, TradingView actually has some pretty good options to do that. And I want to also talk about trading journals as well. I'll go through TraderStat. Now, right now, what I have up here, I have two different charts. I have the NQ chart, which is just the basic regular one that you're used to. I have the gold chart up using the FF indicator. So I'm going to show you just a few different forms. So for example, right here, what you can do here, instead of just manually, which you can do by the way as well, you can manually just sift through each day and take a look at the charts and how they moved bar by bar and to see how it whether it worked with your system or not. For example, earlier today, I took a long on the on gold, which I already highlighted on Instagram. And so essentially what that is I took a trade here. The moment for the FF indicator, we came to test the trigger line here. We had a trigger line hold, and this also was a 5 minute. So if you look at here, we had a 5 minute hold and bounce off the trigger line, which I took the longs for here. And I captured what I needed to capture. And I believe I did that. Let me just take a look here. I caught that with my Apex, with my newly minted Apex evals using the 90% off. So that was one trade that I took. And that's just an example of I've back tested this many times before. And so even with us in the Discord with the FF indicator, we do provide a lot of education on how to use that specific set of systems. Now, again, not every trade is going to work out, but the probability rate is fairly strong, which is why I took the stab at it. That's an example of that. Another way you can use this as an example, let's just say you're using the general most popular indicators that most people use, such as the VWAPs, the 9 EMAs, or any of the EMAs for that matter, right? And let's just say that you are a VWAP trader. Well, this yellow line here actually represents the VWAP. So if you were to back testing this, you might look back and say, hey, you know what? I really like that. The VWAP test here was very strong. So maybe next time if I see it again, I'll take the test of longs there, or over here, or over here, or over here, right? In the same way that you saw rejection here, and then so on and so forth. And you can go further back and see where it respected it the most, right? And so that's another way if you could take a look at from a backtesting perspective of strategy. Again, like I said, not every strategy is always going to work out. So it's important to figure out what your probability rate is. That's a lot of the times why I believe there's value in doing so is because let's just say I am a VWAP trader. I would like to see if I was a genuine general trader on NQ and I wanted to always use the VWAP as my point of entry. It is important for me to take a look at every single trading day as much as I can to see how often the VWAP gets respected and why. And there's a lot of factors to that as well. It's not as simple as just saying, okay, let's just use the VWAP every single time. What other factors are in play? Again, it depends on your system of trading. Are you a volume trader? Are you a price action trader? Are you a trend line trader? There are so many factors to how you would integrate that. But as you back test it, you would take a look at all the variables to account for your probability rate. Okay. And so one of the things that's pretty cool as well in TradingView that you can use at the bottom left hand here, you'll see this thing that says replay trading. This essentially is how you actually can actually rewind and go over the charts bar by bar. So I'll kind of show you just an example here. So if I do this and peel back all the way here, let's just say I'll stop here. You see that it cuts off the chart here. So basically, if I wanted to see, backtest and see how these candles moved bar by bar, I could do this, right? So jump to forward. So I can keep clicking this and it will show me, and these are 2-minute candles, by the way, how the market moved at the time. And so sometimes this is a kind of a nice way for you to be able to back test and kind of get a sense of like how price action was moving and kind of almost like give you a visual example and maybe mimic the emotions for yourself of what the trade actually looked and felt like at the time of the trade. So again, TradingView offers this. It's a pretty cool, it's part of the platform, so I don't think it's anything additional, at least not to my knowledge. But that's just an example of a way that you can backtest. The last thing that I would reference here is I'll just pull up my trader stat here. So this is my trader stat that is basically the trading journal that I use today, and I talk about this a lot already. So let's just pull up a day that from randomly from the past couple days here. So I'll use this day here because there's a lot of trades I can reference here. Sorry, let me pull back here again. You can see the reason why I want to use this because any other day I didn't have a lot of trades in, but this day I had 24 trades. So you can see here out of the 24 trades at 100% win rate, which isn't going to be like that every single day, but it was a really good day, right? So what I can also do is if I click on all of them, I can see exactly where each of those trades were made. And again, as I look back at this chart here, at each of these trades that I took, I can also find out, essentially when I took these trades, did it fall in line with what I was looking for? So I can take a look at the notes that I would have put down. So, did I trade this on a 1, 2, 3 based on the FF indicator? Did I trade this on a 3-bar play? Did I trade this on a VWAP trade? These are all the different things that I would look back at when I backtest and to see how often it comes up. So when we talk about edge, your edge in the market is essentially what you consider as your most probable setup and the one that you will likely repeat over and over and over again during different market conditions. How you hold, where your entries are, I mean, again, to each their own, but all I'm saying is that, for those who have been following me, they know, what some of the setups that I really like. Like I really like playing double bottoms and double tops. Now, does it mean I take every single one of those that come my way? Absolutely not. There are other variables that come into play, such as price action and trend line and candlestick analysis and all of that, right? So anyways, I just want to share a little bit of that just so that you guys can get a sense of it, of what I'm referring to here. If there's any other questions, again, as always, feel free to ask. Drop comments below and subscribe if you haven't already. It means a lot for me. I will continue to try to put up content as much as I can, but I am busy building right now the mentorship while along balancing all the business things in my life at the moment. So I probably will have a couple more prerequisite videos, and then after that, it's going to be full-blown mentorship program. So anyways, thanks for checking it out. Again, I'll see you around next time. Thanks, guys.